King in Black is a crossover event years in the making that will change everything you thought you knew about the symbiotes beginning this December. It's the culmination of Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman's 2-year run on Venom and ties into their works and other Marvel stories. This story will involve almost every major Marvel hero, and they all must rally around Venom, Eddie Brock, in their final confrontation with Null, God of the Symbiotes. Donny, Ryan, great to see you guys. How are you?
What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Doing all right. Doing all right. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Hanging in there and preparing for the onslaught that is the King in Black. And so I'm just battening down all the hatches and getting ready for everybody to be really excited / furious at us.
Yeah, listen to a lot of guitar music.
Yeah.
A lot of headbanging.
Yeah, man. You know it.
There you go. Ryan, how are you doing?
Good. I've just been drawing symbiotes all day, as I've been doing for the past, I don't know, 6 months or so. 3 years, actually.
Yeah, 3 years. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. You guys have been working on Venom for about 2 years now, and have sort of, stem to stern reinvented the mythos of the character. And I guess that's kind of where I want to start. We saw Null in the first 6 issues of your Venom run. And how does King in Black build off of not only those 6 issues, but where you guys have taken Eddie and Venom from there?
Well, obviously Ryan and I's first arc kind of built all these things up. The end of our first issue is the reveal of the first of the symbiote dragons, and Ryan and I kind of think of Venom Rex, which is the name of the first volume, and then Absolute Carnage, and now King in Black as the kind of the Null trilogy, if you will. Certainly the stuff that got brought up and was kind of like you said, kind of redesigned the origin, kind of filled in a lot of the origin of where not just the symbiote, but also Eddie Brock came from. That fell over into Absolute Carnage. And then obviously, for those of you who have read Absolute Carnage, the events of the end of that event led to Null, the God of the Symbiotes, finally being released. And ever since then, he's been on a warpath across the stars, heading straight for us, for Earth. And what's really fun about King in Black is that it's got a little bit different of a structure, something that we talked about, whereas Absolute Carnage, everyone was very much taken off guard. Like Carnage has, come back from the dead, and he's this, god tier kind of a doomsday cleric for Null, like working for him. But everyone was caught completely unaware, right? Well, what's really cool about King in Black is because there's been so much time with Null, going across the warpath, and Eddie kind of becoming a bigger part of the entire Marvel U, and being closer tied to characters like Captain America and Spider-Man and the Marvel U as a whole. He's been able to prepare them. And so what you're going to see in King in Black is a united front of the entire Marvel pantheon gathered together with a foolproof plan to defeat Null that goes perfectly and doesn't fall apart whatsoever.
Solved in issue 1, and the rest.
Issue 1, yeah. Issue 1 is pretty much just like the entire climax, and then the rest of the issues are them just like chilling out, hanging out, and being like, "Man, that was crazy. I'm glad we got that out of the way."
Classic Donny Cates. That's how all stories have gone so far, just like Carnage.
Yeah, well, you know how Ryan and I do. We tend to just like go like real hard up front, and then just kind of like settle down and do like really quiet stuff.
Well, Ryan, you and I were talking on the phone earlier today just about an awesome epic page that you turned in that I can't wait for people out there to see. But you mentioned that it's crazy for a character you co-created to go up against the Marvel universe. How does that feel, especially thinking about those first 6 issues?
Well, I mean, I always loved Marvel characters, so to get to draw so many of them is, pretty amazing. But yeah, like I said to you, the fact that we created Null and that he's a threat to the entire Marvel universe, and that it's going over well, because we could have created him and nobody could have cared.
Right.
But, people seem to care deeply. And so now we get to have him, run roughshod all over the universe. And I get to draw all the characters I always dreamed of.
And
that really is something really, I mean, I know Ryan and I have talked about this, the enormous gamble that we all took, Dev, you included, that the entire team took with doing that first arc and bringing in this huge, big cosmic scale bad guy that, I mean, Dev and Ryan, you guys both know that we had this entire story leading up to the King in Black that was years in the making, years in the making, and was going to take a long time to get to. We had those plans when we first pitched this first arc, and looking back on it now, like how unbelievably cocky we all were that we're like, oh yeah, that'll work out. People will like this character enough, and in like 3 years they'll still be into it, and and that'll work. And it's, I don't know, I want to thank all the fans and everybody out there who is stuck along with this story that has allowed us to get to the point where we can actually pull the trigger on this thing and really show you, what this has all been building to this entire time.
Yeah, let's not forget that they put Null in the cartoon, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I know. And there's like Null action figures, and we don't have a Funko Pop yet though, but I'm crossing my fingers for that.
That was one of the few things I could point to that my kids were actually impressed by. Look, it's on a cartoon. I made that guy.
yeah. No, it's been phenomenal. And like Ryan said, getting to see, because, Null has been so intrinsically tied to Eddie Brock's story and stuff. And yeah, he has shown up here and there, just recently in our Wraith issue, and then, somewhat prominently in the Silver Surfer Black series and stuff. But now, these pages that Ryan is turning in, and the pages that Iban is turning in the Venom tie-ins, seeing Null landing on Earth, and the I don't want to spoil anything, but the things that he brings along with him, it's just crazy seeing. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the entire Marvel the entire cast of Marvel going up against this seemingly unstoppable threat is really, really fun, and getting to also see not just the story threads that we began in Venom Rex, but also the story threads that I have been kind of putting in there through Guardians, through Thor, through Silver Surfer Black, through Wraith, all kind of coming to a head. It's going to be really nice when it finally all comes out and I can point to it and be like, see, we weren't just making this up as we were going along. Like there was a plan.
Well, that's something that I wanted to hit on real quick as well, because Silver Surfer Black is an absolutely epic comic. And Donny, you've hinted at, a larger interconnected sort of story that you're telling, not only across Venom and King in Black and Absolute Carnage, but your other books too. Yeah. Without spoiling anything, can you talk a little bit about, that larger story that you're building to, and how, Guardians, Doctor Strange,
right,
Silver Surfer Black, how Web of Venom, how all that stuff is kind of going to come to a head in King in Black and the Venom tie-ins?
I mean, the answer is epically and awesome. I have been so incredibly fortunate to work with artists and the editorial groups that I've worked with at Marvel who have, for whatever reason, trusted me because I mean, these are things that I was planning before I was ever even on Venom proper. Like when I came to you and was like pitching to you, I was like, well, I've already kind of been building this thing, and like it would really help if I could actually write Venom to to pull it off, So yeah, it's kind of this big grand tapestry that I've been building along with Ryan and along with Trad Moore and along with Nick Klein, going back as far as like the Doctor Strange stuff and my Thanos stuff. It's been wild that it's all kind of come together. It's hard to answer without spoiling how it happens.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah, but a book like Silver Surfer Black, specifically, Silver Surfer Black was absolutely engineered in order to place certain characters in certain situations by the end of it so that they would be crucial keys to locks that needed unlocking in King in Black. Is that vague enough for me to
I think that's vague enough, and I think it's vague enough too to say that you there are also layers to it, right? Like
Right.
we tip of the iceberg with Absolute Carnage, but
Right.
we have talked through stuff from Venom 26,
Yeah.
Web of Venom. We're gonna see some past characters in the Venom tie-in issues that are, and it all kind of ties back to this one epic story that you've been crafting, you and Ryan.
Yeah.
And Ryan, I wanted to ask you. Well, you've drawn dozens of symbiotes throughout your run, doppelgangers, demogoblins, all this crazy stuff. What's different about your approach for King in Black, for those characters involved in that, the look of the book? Because I know that, Donny, you've been involved in that too, crafting this aesthetic.
I mean, the approach is pretty much the same. It's just I get to play with a lot more toys. That was one thing that we really wanted to do when we started coming up with this, was we had done Absolute Carnage and we had worked in the Spider-Man universe, and we had some characters that came in that weren't normally in Venom books, but this one we were making sure that we brought in everybody. So we got all the big guns, and really I guess I don't know how I approach it differently. I think that every time that I draw somebody, I just see if I can do it and then hope for the best. And I am finding out that there's several characters that I'm like, wow, this is a character that I really enjoy drawing, and I'd like, back pocket that information for later, for another project.
Well, I think also, I think, this is something that Ryan and I have talked about a lot, both privately and on the podcast that we do, Ryan Stegman and his amazing friends. You can go and download that on iTunes and Spotify. Yeah. We talk about this a lot, is that this is my third event that I've written for Marvel. It's the second event that Ryan and I have done together, and we've absolutely learned from those events. We're like super proud of Absolute Carnage, and we had a blast doing it, but also we came away from it, every artist is critical of their work, and coming back from it, Ryan and I had very long conversations going into King in Black about what we could do better, what the particularly in regards to the scale of the event, and how do you in 5 issues, really like kind of like 6 or 7 issues because they're oversized, right? How do you get that grand scale, that grand Marvel versus everyone, galactic, huge, into the world threat kind of thing, and with such an immense cast of characters? How do you do that while simultaneously giving each of these quote unquote guest stars their own kind of shining moment that kind of defines them as a character and gives them a great moment for fans of Captain America, a great moment for fans of the X-Men or the Fantastic Four, or any of these teams, while also keeping it very, very centrally focused emotionally on the man who is carrying this event on his back, which is Eddie Brock, and the relationship with his child and stuff. And so those, more so than like obviously we went through the plot and we went through the character beats and the action beats and stuff, but we really spent a lot of time, both Ryan and I privately, and Dev and Nick Lowe and the whole editorial team, really when we went and sat down at our Marvel retreat for this, really burrowed down into what is the emotional core of this, what is this event mean, not just to Marvel but to the central character, and how does he come out of this changed? Who is he after the events of King in Black, and what does the Marvel landscape look like after this has happened?
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting that most guys, you don't get a chance to do 2 events in a row together,
right?
So we really did get to learn a lot from it. And with Devin too, like we've all been together for all this time, and we've all kind of come together to figure out how to do this next one.
And the creative team has stayed solid the entire time. I mean, we should make sure that we throw out the idea. I mean, our creative team hasn't changed since day one. It's still
right. Yeah, JP Mayer, Frank Martin, they've been there every step of the way. Clayton Cowell, is that right?
Yeah, and Ibon on the main Venom series has just been an anchor and has just been doing a phenomenal job. And for those of you guys who are a fan of Ibon's work on the series, I gotta tell you, and this is no hyperbole whatsoever, I mean, he's doing the absolute best work of his entire career on the tie-ins.
Yeah, it's been a joy to watch him kind of grow and expand his abilities because
Yeah.
he was great coming in, but he's gotten even better throughout the series.
Yeah, he's cutting loose in a way that I haven't seen him ever do, and
Right.
he's having a lot of fun. That's really the thing. We just had a big Marvel Creative Summit with all the writers and the whole editorial staff coming in, and a great big chunk of it was dedicated to just talking about King in Black, and I got to kind of sit there and download all the other writers and as they kind of walked me through what all their tie-ins were and everything, and the overamounting or the overabundance, I should say, of fun, of just like absolute fun people are having with these things. I mean, Chris Cantwell's doing a story about Santa Claus, you know. I mean, it just so happens that like the King in Black is going to coincide with the holiday season, and so like
Mhm.
I wish I'd thought of that, the idea that like, oh, like Noel's gonna cancel Christmas and only Eddie Brock can save it. It's just such a great hook.
Null is the Grinch.
Yeah. But no, but there are. I mean, like everyone found their own awesome lane, their own awesome way into it. That all the tie-ins are just so much fun. They're so cool.
And what's also amazing is that we're getting such a level of buy-in from across the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
You talked about learning stuff from Absolute Carnage. I learned a lot too, but especially how important it is for, as our stories grow, for our cast of characters to grow as well. And you're not kidding when you say that Null is bringing a serious army. Like it is.
Oh yeah.
It's not a couple hundred dragons; it's a couple 100,000 dragons. Like
Yeah.
there is a force on the way, and it's going to take not just Earth's mightiest heroes, but more
Right.
than. We'll see Black Cat, the Union, Immortal Hulk, Iron Man, Doctor Doom, which is one of my favorite tie-ins.
It's so cool.
So fun and so cool. And you guys have been able to participate in those as well. Without giving too much away, Ryan got to have got to play with Iron Man a little bit in the event. And is there anything that you guys are most looking forward to seeing, or any particular tie-ins that you're super excited for right now?
I know that there's a lot of stuff that I'm excited to draw, but every single thing I would say would be a spoiler.
That's what I was gonna say too. I mean, as far as the tie-ins go, I don't know what's been announced and what hasn't. And even if I were to say why I'm stoked about a particular tie-in, it's because I know of like 4 different scenes that happen in them that I'm like, oh, that's bananas. I can't believe that they got to get away with that.
You mentioned one already that I wanted to pick your brain about, and that's Venom with Iban Coelho.
Oh, right. Yeah. That is going to be the most. Well, when we first started this series, when Ryan and I first launched it, it was, I don't think we ever really thought about it, but it started kind of being referred to as like a bit of a horror book, like a cosmic dark horror book, and certainly that's true. You start talking about like elder dark gods, like lords of the void and stuff, right? But the Venom tie-ins that tie into the main King in Black series, I think we have steered into that label in a way that we've never done before, and I can't tell you a single thing that would explain why that is, because it's a massive spoiler. Don't read Venom 31 until you've read King in Black #1. Please don't do that. But yeah, it's been a really cool experimental arc, and it's really pushed the boundaries of just what it is to be attached to a symbiote, in not just a physical way, but also a mental, like what that mental link looks like, and what that space really looks like and feels like when you are connected to this larger hive. And so it's been really great. That arc has a lot of inspiration from stuff like the Dark Tower, to the Matrix, to like Event Horizon. I mean, it's a really spooky, weird stuff with a lot of guest stars that you will not see coming, and a lot of really great surprise stuff. You asked earlier about like what specific stuff I'm excited about in King in Black. There's not a single issue that doesn't have one of those just like, oh my God, I can't believe they just like Marvel let them do this moments,
Mhm.
you know? And I remember when we were at the summit, it was just Ryan and myself and Devin and Nick Lowe, and we had mapped out the entire series. But then the larger group of editorial came into the room, and we had to present the story to them. I remember even veteran guys who have been at the company for 20, 30 years were hearing it and going like, what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's insane. I was like, you guys tell us, can we do this or not? Because yeah, it sounds insane. But I know there's a moment in issue 1 where I think when it happens, you'll know what it is, and it's the moment where if you haven't been taking Noel seriously as a threat up until this point, you for sure will. You'll understand just how hard this is going to be to put this guy down, if they even can,
And it's great too seeing Iban breathe so much life into the world. Like, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that we just got the lettering in for that book today, and
Right.
going through it and reading it for the first time, you don't pull any punches. It is New York ensnared in dragons. There's this double page spread with a dragon looming over Eddie, over Venom, and it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And that's it drafts right off of the hard work that you're doing in the main book, Ryan. With those dragons, and how's it been bringing the dragons back for this big event? We saw them in the first arc as well.
Hard to draw.
Yeah.
They're all over the
now?
place. What's that?
Do you regret that now, a couple of years later, making really going for it?
Honestly, I'm getting really good at and quick at drawing them, but it's just like whenever I think I'm good and fast at them, then it's like, but put more,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, okay, well,
it's all fun and games. Like 3 years ago when I told you, yeah, and then in the King in Black there's going to be 1 million dragons, and you were like, oh yeah, that sounds fun. And then I turned the script into you, and you were like, wait, but for real, 1 million dragons?
Yeah. Yeah, somebody should do a count of how many I've actually drawn at this point.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. That sounds like a job for someone out there in Mighty Marveldom, or an intern at some point.
Or an intern. Yeah. I was going to say just really quick that I began this panel by saying that Ryan and I kind of think of Rex and Absolute Carnage and King in Black as a kind of a trilogy. So as far as I've been getting a lot of questions on Twitter and stuff of like, hey, what should I read going into this kind of a thing? A lot of the things that we set up in Venom Rex are heavily paid off in King in Black. A lot of things that were asked that were never answered, a lot of pieces of certain people's origin stories that are going to get touched on here. It is very much a full circle from that. So definitely I'd read that, and I'd read Silver Surfer Black minimum. And Absolute Carnage. Well, just read everything. Just read all of Venom.
Scarlet Spider, Superior Spider-Man.
Right, yeah.
Hulks.
Inhuman.
Jason Aaron Thor's great. Immortal Hulk's great.
Well, one last thing, guys. Without spoiling too much, one of my favorite parts of all these events is that we tend to leave some crazy stuff on the board for other families, other books to play with as they wind down. So can you give a little tease about what effects this event will have, not just on the Marvel Universe, but on Eddie too, because this story is so personal, and I know that means a lot to you guys. Yeah,
I mean, this has always been the plan, and I keep on coming back to that. But I keep on saying it because I'm just blown away at the amount of support, not just from Marvel and from Devin and Nick Lowe and CB, but also from you guys as fans that have actually let us see this insane storyline through. But the plan was always, I'll say this: the events of King in Black change Eddie Brock in a profound way. I know that's we here at Marvel, we say that all the time. We say, this is a game-changing thing. Like, this character will never be the same. The universe will never be the same. I like to think that I've never said it and it not come true. But this is a fundamental change to Eddie Brock and his place in the larger universe and his place as a Marvel character going forward.
Yeah, pretty much good luck to whoever has to work on it after us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess Devin cut this out if we're not talking about this yet, but the issue right after King in Black is Venom 200. Are we talking about
that? That's a special anniversary. We got legacy numbering on there. I hope people can count, right?
Can I say that?
Yeah, you can say it. I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the issue that follows the King in Black number 5 comes out, and it is earth shattering and insane, and it's oversized, and it's filled with things that I've been imagining in my head since I was a little kid, and then right after that, Ryan and I are doing issue 200, Venom's 200th issue, which is such a what's weird? I'm at my parents' house right now in my hometown, and I'm actually filming this from my childhood bedroom. And where I'm sitting right now is a wall right here. And growing up, this entire wall was filled with Venom issues in bags and boards, like thumbtacked to it. And on that wall was a Mark Bagley Lethal Protector poster. My bunk bed was back here filled with comics. And it's so weird for me to be doing this in this room and saying this, but I am so incredibly honored. I know that Ryan is as well, and Devin is as well, to be the guys to bring you the 200th issue of it. And it's going to be a really, really, really special issue. And it's going to be the beginning of something new, a beginning of something that you've never seen before from Eddie, that you've never seen before in the dynamic between, him and his family and his symbiote.
If they survive King in Black.
Huh?
If they survive King in Black.
If they survive, or he's a ghost,
Yeah, that's the status quo change.
Oh no, I gave away the hook.
Yeah, it's a ghost with a symbiote on it. It's actually not a bad idea. Write that down. No, it's a really special issue that will set the stage for the next, hopefully the next 200 to 2,000 to 2 million issues of that amazing character going forward, and we can't wait. And I think I speak for the whole team to say that it's an incredible honor to be able to make that.
It's a special book, but first he's got to get through the Venom event of 2020.
Yeah, it's gonna get darker before the dawn for sure. Yeah,
it gets pretty dark.
I've said this before. I think I said it in the announcement trailer. This is by far the most brutal thing that we've ever done. I mean, the amount of the amount of graves that are going to have to get dug in this. Yeah, you remember that mass burial ground and absolute carnage? Yeah, that ain't going to be enough.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was adorable. Yeah. If you thought that carnage was scary, man, you're not ready for the King in Black. I'll say that. And Ryan keeps on putting that on Twitter, and he's absolutely right. You're just not ready.
I think that's as good a note to end on as any, guys. Thank you so much for your hard work, for your time, for being Venomaniacs.
Yeah.
You got it, guys.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you in Christmas.
Thank you. We did it.
It's great.
You do it?
Yeah.